Hi, I'm Paul. For this video, I thought we would have a talk about the thinker, the thought maker, the ego, the I, the center. I suppose we could all say the same thing. So I want to talk about how it operates, how we seem to be drawn into it all the time, how we seem to be addicted to the idea of the thought maker. I mean, in reality, I suppose it gives us a sense of control and security, but I'll try and get into that. So we could say that we have a center. So from this center, we could say that perhaps this center is called the I. You see, from this I, the world begins. So the center is pretty much, we could say, the thought maker, the thinker. You see, the thought maker and the thinker is actually only thought. You see, there's not a thinker having a thought, but we could say that the thinker is the center, let's say, private collection of private collection of ego thoughts, should we say? I mean, we could say that there's only really one ego in the whole world. In a sense, we could say there's one ego between everybody, because there's ideally one story, one reality, and your selective ego is kind of your own selection of parts of the entire ingredients of the ego, the collective ego. So your own private collection, let's say, this would be down to the center, the thought maker, the thinker, trying to focus on its own private collection of, let's say, memory and reality. So, like I was saying, the thought maker is thought, but we like to have, or cling on to this idea that there's a me who's choosing the thoughts. Not only choosing, I don't think that's... There's a me who's controlling the thoughts, who's keeping order. So the thought maker, the thinker, the I, the self-center, is keeping order, security, control. Only trouble is, the thought maker was never there. There was no thinker. There was only thought. So really, the whole idea of up to now, of this ego, this I, this thought maker, has managed to keep control, keep order of the brain. And yet the truth was, it was never there. So how did it keep order? How did it keep control? There was never a thought maker. Yet somehow we still don't want to let go of it. It's not there. Never was there. It was never keeping control. But even though I tell you this and say, well, it was never keeping control. The thoughts was rolling as it did in the first place. It was never controlling them. It was just one thought after another. But even now you're saying, but if I let go of it, the order will fall apart and there'll be chaos. How can it fall apart? How can there be chaos? It was never there controlling it. So in a way, I don't know whether that's the whole illusion. It's probably not the whole illusion. You see, reality, or the ego world as a whole, is it's kind of an illusion, if I dare say that word. It's all based on thought. It's all based on ideas. It's man-made. And you see, this thought maker is choosing its own private collection of the entire ego, thinking that it's keeping order and control. Really, it just seems that you're just focusing on different parts and ignoring others. And perhaps we could say this is what the thought maker seems to be doing. But it isn't there. Never was. So really, then we could probably say there's no center. There's no thought maker, so there's no I, there's no me, there's no center. So already I don't have a center. But it appears that I do. Somehow I can, well, maybe I don't convince myself, but many of us do, and I always did. But there's some me here keeping order and control of me. And the fact that I've always had this thinker, thought maker, controller, or always thought that I have, believing that it's always kept me in control when it hasn't really, it's only created disorder and not order. You see, thought alone cannot change, heal the brain, cannot fix things. It can only cover up, rewrite, well, not even rewrite, just cover up, make new stories. It can give you something else to focus on, but it never changes the past. So this illusion of me, the thought maker, the thinker, gaining order, in reality is only creating disorder, giving an appearance of order. In other words, creating an illusion continuously, which is just really creating disorder, but I'm too afraid to drop the illusion, which already isn't there. But I'm too afraid to drop it. Because it appears to me that it's kept order and control all of my life. But it didn't. Because it was never there. So, how do we see that the thought maker that we believe has always kept order and control of my brain, if it was never there, how can I believe, have trust, have faith in letting it go to see that nothing changes because it was never there? To see that it can't fall, my brain can't fall out of order just because I've lost the controller, because the controller was never actually controlling. But then, once the thought maker, the center, goes away, then it would appear that there's a opening, a space, where rather than me having to think that I'm controlling every thought, everything that comes into my mind, every person that I meet, having to make stories or try to ignore certain things of people and try to add more descriptions onto people, or see, the whole world in this space comes to me. It's like freedom. Don't have to do anything. It doesn't take all my energy to convince myself of something that's not real. How do we see that? How do we gain the confidence to just say, I give in, I let go? See, like I say, thought can't change the brain. So the whole idea of this is, if you're going to want to think your way through trying to let go of the thought maker, the center, you want to open up a new part of your brain that you've hardly ever used, or hardly ever at least paid attention to. If you want to make this change, make this shift, it can't be done with thought. Like I said, thought cannot change the brain, cannot reshape it, cannot fix it, heal it, improve it, but it can destroy it. It can damage it. You see, pretty easy to see that, because through thought we create chaos. We just had two. We take truth, we apply stories to it, we adjust it, change it, tell ourselves different things. You see, this is causing chaos. We're adding more and more and more to the brain, and creating more separation, I guess, in the brain, more fragmented parts. Because if we keep on trying to change stories, we can't change a story in one sentence, in one thought. So we have to just rewrite. And this rewriting comes from thought, just creating more disorder. So to see the ego, to see past it, has to come from somewhere else other than thought. See, I just spoke before about the self-center, about the thought maker. I don't know how you view that, but whenever I view it in my own head, it's just as if I can watch it. I know it's there, so much so that I don't have to try to find it or try to look for it or try to understand it. It's just there. So I just look at it. I can watch its motion, watch its move. Don't need thought for it. To see that the thought maker seems icky. Whenever I talk about ego stuff, I always say icky. I always used to get this icky feeling, say some ego-filled song comes on or something, then I get this icky feeling. Don't like it. When I try to look at the thought maker, that's what I seem to feel. But it's, I don't know how to say it. If you look at something, if you look at the floor, let's say, this is what I said to somebody today, if you look at the floor and focus on the floor, the chances are you're going to focus on a small spot. You kind of zoom in, your eyes zoom into the small spot on the floor. And you see, because you're focusing, it's as if you've got a center, so you're only seeing a part of the floor. One tiny little bit. But without focusing, it's like saying without a center, without a you. If you look at the floor, because there's not a you trying to focus, then you see all the floor. But then it's only when you try and focus again, your eyes zoom into this one bit. And this is what it's like. You see, when you use the thinker, the thought maker, the ego, whatever you want to call it, because that comes from a center, makes you focus on just one little bit. And you can't see the whole. From this little bit, you jump from that little bit to the next little bit. And there's a thought maker saying it's me who's choosing which little bits to focus on. But when there's not this center, when there's this open space, and there's not a thought maker, and it seems that you see the whole picture. The whole entire way that the thought maker and the center all combine together, if not they are really the same thing. But I can watch it move. And from doing this, it seems to make changes. Obviously, you see it. You see the thought maker doing what it does and see its faults, see it's not really there. There's nothing different to the thought maker and the thought. It's just a thought happens and then there's something that goes, yeah, but it's me who's choosing that thought. But then that's just another thought. You see, when you watch this happen, changes happen. If it comes from a thought, all you're doing is trying to convince yourself. Yeah, I keep on thinking of ways, how can I suggest, how can I say how to see, how to visualize things rather than coming from thought, and I just don't know how to do it. If I spoke to you in person, and I keep on thinking of doing what do you call them, meetings or something on YouTube, I don't know, so I could actually talk to people, because talking to a camera is just, there's no stimulation, it's just dead. There's no direction for me to go, I'm just making stuff up. But if I was to speak to you in person, there's that communication, and through that communication I can help you see things yourself. And then that's when the changes are made, and if I see you using thought, I can try to steer you away. But as far as talking on a camera, I just don't know how to quite communicate what it's like to visually see things rather than just talk them through. Anyway, I've probably been waffling a little bit too much, so I think I'll end it there. Thanks for listening.